got blamed for something that we get laid on our table. And come to us like you just did. We're just a long arm of the legislature. We don't get to make the rules. And so when the department audit says jump, we ask how high.
Well, so then that's a good question for us because, I mean, we've already brought our counsel in. We will fight it no matter what happens with the state because that will happen. We will fight it.
But understand you'll be fighting the state.
Well, right, but you understand that we will
Fight the
fight
state.
it. We will fight it.
That's between you and the Department of Audit.
I got that, Marty. And I get where you're going from, but see, the letter was signed by Nathan, so that's why I called
It's
him.
required to.
I know, that's what I found out. But at the time, I was shocked because I've been in a lot of district hospitals. We've never had a district. Well, I've never had quite the finance problems either. But I've never had a district that ever have the commissioners involved in the nuances of reports that go to the state. Because at the end of the day, this is about a report. It's late, right? It's a report.
We're only involved because the state statutes require us to be.
Mm-hmm.
We have nothing to do with that.
I hear you.
Well, it's uncomfortable when we want to be on an even keel, and conversations are had publicly that we did this, we did that, we did this.
Well, I apologize for that, Marty. I'll learn from that opportunity, but at the same time, I gotta tell you, I didn't know because it came straight from Nathan. So, and then I called Nathan and he said, yeah, I have to sign this letter, blah, blah, blah. So I apologize for that. This has been a huge strain on my plate to try to run that hospital, to try to get the finances pulled together in a place I've never seen finances as bad as what these were. Never.
And I think the other piece of this, if I can add, is that okay? The other piece of this is that we're actually maybe receiving a little bit of conflicting information from the state, at the state level, because
exactly.
we were actually communicated a day further out than the first week of March that I discussed, that we would still be maybe not in compliance but accepted. And so I think that's where maybe a little bit of the confusion might be coming from our perspective.
Alicia Jump from the state told us that we had till April 1st to be able to.
Do you have that in
Darn
email?
right.
Do you have that in writing?
We have it in an email.
Is that for what fiscal year?
Yeah, for what year?
For what fiscal year? This 24-25.
Yeah, I understand that extension applied to the 25-26 fiscal year. That's my understanding.
25-26.
Yeah.
That's not even due yet.
No,
See, I think it would be
25, 26.
Or
24, 25.
yeah, 23,
23,
24.
24.
Yeah,
Because the fiscal year
Sorry.
actually, so we're now into fiscal 26.
Correct.
yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're ahead.
So here's the sticky situation that I'm looking at this. You're not the only district that's non-compliant. There's 2 other districts right now that aren't compliant. And you guys are in here fighting for that, which I very much appreciate. What happens when one of these other districts doesn't show up and I say, sorry, Charlie? You know, and I think that's where Marty's kind of stepping on down that track of where do we decide who is and who isn't. I know you're making an effort. So
Yeah. So and I apologize because I just sorry.
No, it's okay.
No.
It's like the only thing I wanted to do was go to that hospital and make a difference, and it's been really hard.
It sounds like you have.
Let me interject, because I think you have. And I think most of us are very proud of you for stepping into that role, because that's not a role necessarily that would be wanted by anyone. And so it's like somebody asking, go feed the rattlesnakes today.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, but I
Not
do
giving you
love
any
that
clue
place.
how to feed the rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
So please understand.
And I don't want to let the county or the community down. That's not in my. I wanted to. Yeah, I really did have my. Hey, I'm going to make sure this place is going to be okay.
I think you've done a good job. It's just
I don't mean to be like that,
Oh,
sorry.
you're,
Well, in discussing this with Michael yesterday, I don't think, Michael and I were visiting about this. There's really no, right, from what you're telling me, if we don't follow through with this, there's no real teeth out there to say, okay, we didn't dissolve your district, right? I mean, so who's gonna come after us at that juncture?
From what I understand, there's no penalty. One thought I did have, you guys are talking about getting the 25 audit done by, no, this is the 24 audit done by
It's the 24-25, yeah, because we have that split.
What about the 24? Because I understand there's a problem with the 24 not being done, not the 25. The extension was, I understand, from the permanent audit on the 25, not the 24, and that's what the big hiccup is. Anyway,
Well, the good news is, if I can answer that really quickly, the good news is if that's the case, we can submit that as well. I went all the way back, so we had no problem actually submitting that information and getting it done along the same timelines. What Kathy's talking about is these books were terrible. Like I can't explain it to you. It'd take forever, but they were really bad. And there's no way for me to submit that honestly, and I'd be in front of a different judge, wearing a different outfit, and explaining myself. So to avoid all of that, especially for Kathy, we had to take care and diligence in fixing these books before we actually submitted them. We're in that position right now.
we appreciate that. But one thought I had, there's no penalty to the commissioners, but I still think they're mandated by law to keep doing their duty. But I do also believe that the district would be entitled to due process and a hearing on such a process. So a thought I had would be if you guys are promising, this is a thought, okay, if you guys are promising to have this submitted by the first week of March, perhaps that due process hearing would be around that time to make sure that you guys are following through as far as dissolution goes.
And we can update you every month. I mean, we don't have a problem coming back in and stuff. I get stuck in my office a lot, but I'm happy to come back more. And yeah, I feel bad that it's like this.
And make no mistake, going forward, there's definitely going to be some level of oversight, if not from this body here, but of course from CMS or whoever. And we plan to meet that head on and be very prepared to address any concerns. So if that's something you also would like, maybe a meeting once a month with me as we sit here in this room, I'm happy to do that as well, to provide some oversight to the board to know exactly where we stand on everything. This should never happen again. Our target date's 9/30 for our audits. We will have no problem hitting that moving forward. It's quite simply a process issue if you know your finance and accounting. So that's kind of the go forward process. And I'm willing to do that for all of you. This way.
with all due respect, Michael, when the due process be with the state?
No, because you guys are the ones that have to move to dissolve the district yourself.
So does the process include that in the state law?
I think probably under the Constitution, it's not specifically right in the statute. It's pretty unclear. It says you shall dissolve, and so how does that happen? Due process in my head would say you should have a public hearing with the board to make sure that they have an opportunity to respond. So.
No, it says by resolution that will dissolve.
My thoughts on it, I mean, if you gotta establish a district through that process, it makes sense to potentially have to be that way to dissolve it. I mean, in a lot of ways, you're dissolving a district that was voted upon by the voters of the county, and it should make me feel a little uncomfortable doing it.
Well, that too, I mean,
created.
Financially, you have to reinvent the wheel, have to go back and do the whole district thing again. It's like, it'd be pointless to spend that much more money, taxpayer money, getting another district put back together if we did dissolve it. So it's
dissolve is
the last thing we want to do is dissolve it.
Nightmare.
So, out of curiosity,
And it would take months, I would think. Right?
is there somebody in some position somewhere where Michael could call them and say, here's what's happening. This is what the hospital's telling us what's happening. This is what the statutes are telling us what's happening. Are we okay going down these steps to not have to dissolve the district as following the statute?
I think you're mandated. You guys are mandated by statute, but if they're going to be done by the beginning of March, that could be a good timeline for that, like a public hearing on that. And I've called people and discussed this at length.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and especially knower of all things up in Crook County. Well, he's not up there anymore as of last Thursday, but he gave me some good guidance on this as well. So.
So, can I ask, am I allowed to ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Is that
Yeah,
okay?
go ahead.
So if we have a public hearing about this after we've already submitted our financials or audited financials to the state and we've received their acceptance of said financials, we're in compliance, so and I'm not trying to question you, but I'm just
I don't
curious.
think you would have to.
Okay.
You could probably cancel it.
Cancel that.
Yeah, no, they get these guys get the letter of compliance from the auditor, then
Yeah, it's
Okay.
done.
Yeah.
Null and voided.
I mean, we're very confident that that's gonna be the deal, so if that's what it takes to move forward, then for me, that's what
Marty, share something.
So my question is, so you have a public hearing, and general policy, public would say, don't shut down our hospital.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then the Board of County Commissioners shut down the hospital because we're mandated to shut down the district.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That doesn't make sense. That makes no sense to me at all. Because there's not a soul, in my humble opinion, yeah, you got your naysayers, all that we're always going to have those. But the majority of the public, I can probably guarantee you right now, is going to say, please don't shut down our hospital. And putting us in a predicament of having a public hearing of that kind of situation, and then we are mandated by the state of Wyoming to shut the district down, that seems counterintuitive.
And it's putting a huge responsibility on you. That's the statute that I think needs some kind of.
I have no problem that,
Change.
I think
Yeah.
it needs to be tweaked. There needs to be some strange little thing there.
I think end of the day, what it is it's almost like an ultimatum. At some points, you have to put an ultimatum out there.
Right.
So- and that's probably where they drew the line, was this is gonna be the ultimatum, and then those counties have the ability to react upon it however they choose. And I mean, you can only ask for your rent so many times before the guy could, get him
You're
out of my
victim.
house.
You're a victim.
So, I'm sorry, Ted, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I've got two questions. Part of my confusion. I think what I hear is shut the hospital down. I think it calls for a dissolution of the board, not necessarily shutting the hospital down. I think the hospital could run in good hands, and I think we've got very good hands there. The board for a day or two. Not much more than that, but a day or two. The other thing that I've got is I'm getting very confused. Are we talking about a 23-24 audit? Are we talking about a 24-25 audit?
both.
Yes, I think the one that the 24 one is the one that they're most concerned about.
Yeah, 23-24.
23-24, yes. And I misspoke earlier, I apologize.
Oh, well, I've been confused on that on my own, not yours.
Because the 24-25, from what I understand, you guys got an extension on that. Allison's told me that too. I called Brian Robinson with the Department of Audit, spoke personally to him. I understand now that the big issue was with the 24.
We have
23-24.
an audit for 23-24 from DZA. It's a booklet.
So we can provide that to your office.
Yeah.
If that's necessary, and I believe they have it at the state level as well.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure I understand that correctly.
The good news is regardless of what we need, we're ready for the past 3 years. So whatever we need, we can get. And it takes 8 weeks, unfortunately, but I've practically killed myself getting this done.
See, the other part of the confusion, which is very, very frustrating to me, and I'm going to get half of you too, but
Fair enough.
but the letter that we got says 2025 audit.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor, the deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime. is so amazing, the coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
The letter that we got says 2025 audit, and then I call down there and they say, well, it's for a different year. So then everybody's confused.
We just had a conversation like that today on the phone with the state, and everybody in the state says something a little different. That's the other part that's kind of, it makes you struggle because you're just trying to get it done. And just like I mentioned, the 23-24 audit, DZA presented to the board, and they approved it and we sent it.
And I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I feel like the confusion is external at the state level.
I agree.
And so all I can do as CFO to support Kathy in the hospital is be ready for any possibility. And I'm sitting here telling you today that we're ready to go, guns up, to get this done. So whatever needs to happen, we'll make it happen. But it's an 8-week lag. I can't do anything about that, unfortunately. But after that, we should be compliant.
Mr.
Mr. Chairman, all I wanted to, and I'm kind of glad maybe I did, to point out there is confusion between the state and the county and maybe the hospital, but the confusion on what they're wanting. And maybe if we can get through that confusion with the state, this will clarify half the problem. I don't know that, but it would. And sure help clarify what's.
Because I mean, the statute would be if it's not submitted on 9/30, 3 months after you close your books. So for us, it's June 30th, 9/30. That would then mean that you're out of compliance. So that would have been our FY25, because now we're in FY26. So that's kind of what we're tracking to the 25 audit. But if we had to submit tomorrow a 24 audit figures, we can do that as well. I'm fairly certain we have a 23-24 audit from BZA, who is our third-party auditor. Yeah, that we can turn around and give to
I'll
whomever
give it
here.
to you if you want it.
But either way, we have all the ammunition, so to speak, to address whatever questions the state audit board has.
Now, I would be interested to figure out if part of it is that they're wanting the 23-24 to see if we were going to amend it, because we had some heck of a time getting a 23-24 audit done. So I don't know if it's an amendment issue. So we can look at that.
So I just want to go back to what I said, and I appreciate Ted clarifying that. The statute says that we dissolve the board. We appoint a new board to dissolve it, to help with the, I hate saying that word, the dissolution. Dissolution. It's just a weird word. But public doesn't hear those things. Public doesn't hear it that way. The public takes this generalized observation without details, and that's what it becomes. I have no doubt that the hospital perhaps could run on its own, and at some point maybe the hospital board will decide to do that and not be a district. That's their decision, and then that dissolving of that district will happen on its own. So with apologies, and I do appreciate what he said, but the general public has this weird thing of taking one piece
I know.
and blowing it up like it's, so I apologize too, but that's what they'll do.
I know that, and again, I am so sorry, but I think I was just like pretty, wow, I can't lose this facility. We can't do, it's like we gotta have this here. But not to mention all the people that work there. There's 185 lives.
Just for my, some education for me, dissolving the board, that gives a new board an opportunity to correct the faults of the board that you've dissolved. Is that kind of the theory of why you dissolve that board? Is that what the purpose is?
Purpose is to dissolve the board. To
And
dissolve the district.
because they are not doing what they are.
Yes.
It says district. But
District.
It says district.
It's the district.
It's the district, not
The
the,
district.
yeah.
You don't dissolve the board, it's the district. The district shuts down and that board just goes away.
Yeah, we're sorry we put you guys in this place
Yeah,
too.
I'm
I
sorry.
If your audit's gonna be back in 8 weeks, then do we have the power as in our board that we can set up the public meeting 9.5 weeks from now?
I think so.
Or is there like a 60-day?
That's on a timeline.
There's no timeline on dissolution,
There is no timeline?
not that I'm aware of.
At least it's not in the statute and it's,
I would imagine.
Like once you have the public hearing, then you start having timelines.
Right.
But
okay.
until,
So we could set our public time, or we could set our public hearing 9.5 weeks from now.
That's fine.
I mean, am I thinking about this the right way?
I think so.
Let me look this up.
that's like when you
We
form
just
the
did.
board, it's kind of sitting there, then when you have that first public hearing, that starts the timetable. And like when you dissolve it, it's just in reverse. You set that first public hearing, then then you start having your timelines you have to meet.
Or 10 weeks, or whatever we decide there.
Yeah, and then when the audit comes back and everything's good, oh, we don't need the public hearing, we cancel it.
So there's 2 other districts in the same boat. Do you establish that for all 3 districts? I mean, basically,
I just want to read something after you have that question.
go ahead. I don't know. I just throwing that out there.
The state statute says, the Board of County Commissioners shall declare the Board of Directors vacant and shall fill the board by appointment for the purpose of dissolving the district.
So you put a new board in place to
dissolve the
the district.
What happens if they come in compliance in the meantime of that?
I have a new phone, so just forgive me. Every second it says, security, I'm sorry. A Board of County Commissioners may, by resolution, reinstate a district or cease the delusion, or however you say, procedures required under subsection B of this section. So we go all the way down to subsection B, which is on the next page, and it's not the one.
But it says may, right? Not shall.
The Board of County Commissioners shall declare the board vacant.
So then why was the may in the
I think what happens is they seat the other board, and then when the other board goes through the process of dissolving the district, if they come into compliance, which is, I'm going to make that as, I hate that word, determine that, bless you, you've come into, and you too, have come into it, and so you can go back and do that. So I think what it says is, you've come into compliance, we would ask the board to stop trying to dissolve you, or that district. I apologize for putting a personal level on it, I apologize.
Well, it kind of feels personal.
I'm sure.
I'm sure it does.
the
It did for us too,
Yeah, I'm sure.
but we didn't have anything to do with it, except
That one.
do what we were told to do.
Yeah, I think the messaging there is we don't want to put you in that position again, right, going forward. So this won't be an ongoing concern for us.
So the last letter Becky got from the Department of Audit, and it lists 3 entities. It says enclosed is a list of entities in your county that do not file their annual report or past due CPA report for the Department of Audit, required by 91507. This letter serves as formal notification of the entity's continued failure to comply despite the receipt of previous notifications from the Department of Audit.
Okay. But this
County
is the-
treasurer shall withhold all further
That's the
distribution of
problem.
money to the special district until the Department of Audit certifies to the county treasurer that the district has complied with all reporting requirements. If you've got a letter stating, I'd like to see the letter,
Yeah.
and that to me tells me that they're giving you time
But
to.
they told us April 1st.
And then Wyoming Statute 91507 requires county commissioners to place a public notice in the newspaper indicating the special district is in danger of being what you did, being dissolved due to failure to comply with the legal reporting requirements. The cost of public notice will be assessed to the special district. So, I guess,
I think part of what our issue is that the one that's not in compliance is
The
April.
24.
Is 24.
Yep.
The timeline gives April 1st for that one that's that yearly.
I understand. That's why I'd like to see the.
So it needs to say that it's for the fiscal year 20. Let's do this thing again. 24.
So then, wouldn't that make the audit an entire year old and not a few months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it have been, and I'm just asking questions, I'm the new guy here, wouldn't it have been out of compliance
A year
this time
ago.
last year?
Yeah,
Right,
that's-
Yeah.
It was.
Bizarre that
That's
you
That's
have
the
an
question.
audit ready for them and they're okay waiting until April. Yet on one hand, they're telling us with the statute, we have to dissolve and start the dissolve process.
Right.
From an audit if it was a year old.
and then on top of that, the letter said 2025 audit on it.
It
Yeah.
doesn't say a year.
It did. Yes, it does.
This one did?
Most
Let's see if
I only got the
have-
one letter. The one I got says 2025 fiscal year.
So, Mr. Chairman, so technically, the grace period has already been given.
That's what it sounds like.
But see, then they were on,
So somebody up there's got something jacked up.
they were on the list.
When I spoke to Brian Winters at the Department of Audit, he said that he has notes that he spoke to the CFO in May of 2025, and they gave him a grace to get that turned in by July of 2025. That was their grace period, so then they had moved forward with this.
I have an email that says that they had a grace period too, because see, they are on this list of from November of 2024, the hospital. And then they were not on it after, because Cambria Improvement and Service District was the only one on it, because they had given them the grace period. The hospital was removed off of it in 2024. So we didn't have to do anything with any of them last year, because they were given the grace period. So we didn't have to move forward with any of them last year, because they all came into compliant because they were given a grace period on that. But they, for 2024, but then they did not comply with that, as Kim said, so they were moved back onto the list for 2024. That's why they're being withheld for the 2024. I have the emails as well, and Michael was given that as well from Brian, because he forwarded it
That's
on to
right.
us.
That's right.
And you said you have it on for 2024? Or 2023?
They have to fill out the forms for that.
The 2023 audit, well, I just looked at Alicia's, one of Alicia's notes, and we did give them the 2023. Yeah, that's 23.
I mean, I've got the audit rate in front of me for 22, 23.
No, this
It's
is
23, 24.
23,
I think we have that too.
Regardless, we can get that back to you. That's,
It's not to us.
It's not to us.
Not
It's
to
go
us.
to the Department of Audit. They're the ones that need
They're
it.
gonna
I
release
understand. I
us.
didn't know if you wanted to take a
No,
look.
we don't
No.
need it.
No.
Nope.
Okay, well, we'll,
I don't have a clue what to do.
we have a plan, and thank you, and, I'll work to not let the state get in the middle of the county
Well,
things. other than what
let me
they've been.
reiterate, the grace period has been given. So whatever comes down the pipe is whatever you guys work out with them. But when we get to a point, that grace has already been given.
I think, let's put it on old business and maybe if you can get them, whatever you feel you can get them, get us a copy of that email.
Okay,
If you have 24, get it to them,
okay,
get a confirmation letter from them, get it to us, and then we can,
And release us.
Yeah.
Release us forward.
right,
That's what I'm asking.
okay.
and then in 2 weeks, we'll talk about it.
Because we have to talk about the other ones too.
Yeah.
This isn't just you. And we start doing this thing and we're gonna be doing the same thing. There's a grace period and then we're back to this thing and then here comes this whole thing again. So either
Makes sense.
we pull the trigger, I'm using your analogy, all your little.
That's okay.
Lock and
Yeah,
load.
you can't offend
Lock and
me.
load.
It's all right.
So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
So, Cambria Improvement District. Anybody
So,
here?
yes, I deal with Alicia every year. Alicia's the Department of
Thank you,
Audit.
Susie. Thank you, Kim.
And we work trying to help. The gal who does the Cambria Improvement Service District audit, and every year she's going missing one or two things. This year,
Because of the medical.
she brought it in, gave me a copy to put in her file, got it
That's why you're not
saved.
here now.
Unfortunately, it's not
That's why-
correct, she's still missing stuff. So, Department of Audit was gonna contact her, let her know it was not the correct stuff. One of their other board members knows that it was not the correct stuff, so hopefully they can get it. Joint Powers said, I have no idea about them.
So let's invite them to the next meeting.
Joint Powers
No,
Board.
somebody from Cambria. Who is the chair of the, do you know? Of the Cambria district.
I don't know who their chairman is. I'll look and see their board members.
Which district is that?
I have a list in there. I think you're,
Sweetwater?
oh no.
That's Sweetwater. I know Warrington.
You're not on the list.
It's,
Is Hartley on that?
yes, he is on it. I don't know who the chairman is though, but I'll figure it out.
So Mike,
District between here and Sweetwater.
so they're probably likely to be given a grace period, I would assume.
I don't
I
know,
mean, they gave one to the hospital for,
but I don't, they're not compliant every year, so I don't know.
the hospital.
No,
But they appear they must come in compliant at some point.
there are two things that they're missing.
Okay. So they're probably working on it, but I would invite them here.
Okay?
And then the joint powers board.
Mr. Chairman, that's an interesting one, because it's not a district.
That's true.
So whatever processes that we're to follow to dissolve a district would not apply to the joint powers board. So the interesting thing is where we go from there. Do we just disband the board?
Well, whatever contract you guys signed had to be signed by the Attorney General as well,
Yes, it did.
so that,
There needs to be,
Or-
do you have a copy of that?
I'm sorry, I was looking at this down.
I
That's
do.
okay.
Yeah, she does.
Well, the question would be is if in that contract, if they were not following compliance, was there a piece in there that said this is what we do?
And the thing is, you guys can't withhold money from them because you give them all their money at the beginning of the year.
Which needs to be changed, by the way.
So there's no way you can hold money like you're holding from the other board.
That should at least be accordingly. So what do you do?
I don't know.
I guess my question would be with Marty is, like you said, they're not in it. They're their own thing, so do you guys even have the legal authority to?
We appointed them, we created them.
The Department of Audit somehow thinks you guys do have the authority.
I mean, it's in
because-
it is in state statute that they're considered the same as. The problem that you run into is do you dissolve them? I mean, or you just disband them?
Combined Communications Dispatch Joint Powers Board.
Right, and it's in it states in state statute that they're considered as.
And that's something we may do in internal policy is you do not get any funding until, you do not get any of your funding from us until you are in compliance. That way, if they're doing in compliance, they don't.
It'd be great to see that.
But Mr. Chairman, if you pay them at the beginning of
No,
the fiscal year,
I said
you're
moving
toast.
forward.
You're
Moving
well, you're
forward.
gonna have to decide how you're gonna pay them.
Monthly.
And how do the other entities pay them? Like, how does the town of Upton pay them? Do they all pay them up front?
Be a question, good question.
I mean, because
Is the city
there's a
paying up
whole,
front? Yeah.
whole lot of you guys paying them. So are they getting their lump sum from everybody at the beginning of the fiscal year? So there's nothing really making them come into compliance.
Well, and then if you disband them, do you bill them for, prorated? I don't want to disband them either. But we can go right back to a dispatch, yes. God. Yeah, exactly. The same side that he just did, I have to, but
You get a copy of that stuff.
do you
I
have
think
any?
you have it in here.
Would you just
Well, maybe
disband
they
it?
should come in and talk.
I think so.
I think,
I think the statute, you're supposed to follow the same process.
How do you do that?
well, I think there's been some concerns that maybe even I don't know that they've done much of anything for a couple of years either.
So, I mean, if the statute, what I just read, said that you remove the board and then you seat a board to dissolve it, is that what you do? Is that we would remove that board and then we seat another board that disbands them?
The purpose to disband.
I don't know, it's an interesting deal. I mean, not a district per se, but I don't know. Other issues, you got the city of Newcastle involved, and you've got
Town of Upton.
Town of Upton involved.
But if they're not complying with the public funds statutes,
We're the arm that,
we're the arm that goes thump.
yeah. Which is
Sure.
not
I mean, just
district.
trying to read the language a little bit. I mean, I would like to discuss with them a little bit, the reasoning why the non-compliance is on the table. Understanding the intensity and the importance of them being in compliance. Encouraging the compliance, all of that, and along with the funding could be a leverage point for sure on that, but being aware of being in compliance with the state audit should be of concern of any district or joint powers board. I mean, it should be.
I'm wondering if it's exact things going on there is what happened here. They didn't have somebody qualified enough to handle this stuff for them, to know what needs to be turned in at the right time frame and have it appropriately allocated and on the books appropriately.
But Mr. Chairman, that's between that board.
I get it, yeah. But it may be what's going on.
Then on the flip side of that too is, as a board member, you're protected under some laws, but if you knowingly and blatantly violate those laws, you're not protected under that umbrella no more. If these people have been these board members have been made notified, hey, this is what's going on, you are blatantly ignoring that, where does that liability fall on them then? You might have stuck your own neck out there by ignoring the laws, which is kind of scary.
Would you invite them to, Becky?
That's, we had brought that up before that, we wanted to talk to them, and that was prior to this, so this is a prime opportunity.
Do they have a designated,
Who's on their board?
well, like Sheriff Colbart is,
I think,
the
James
police,
Kern,
the police chief in Upton.
yeah.
I think Nick might be somebody from Newcastle.
And Nick might have filled chief of police's over there when she got off.
There's a new chief, I bet he's
Oh,
on.
what's his name?
Meals.
Meals.
Brian.
It's kind of a cool name.
Yeah, it's Brian Meals Thompson. I think Lester Reeman's on there. He was.
The Austin Baker, he was appointed
I
once,
think-
I don't know if he's still there.
I don't know if he's still on there. I think James is still on there though. James Kern.
I assume they're the chair.
I think Brian's the chair.
Brian.
Yeah.
And Daniel might be on there.
But
Has anybody from Cambria Improvement District or the joint powers, have they shown any concern of these letters?
nobody's reached out.
Nothing. I mean, I can see the hospital here, I mean,
Very last one.
they're diligently
Very
engaged.
last one.
They understand the intensity of the situation,
Property.
but no concerning calls
You don't
or
remember when we talked about
nothing
it?
from either.
All the equipment and all that stuff.
Well,
That's
see,
concerning in
because,
itself.
like I said, the joint powers board, they're
You
not
know,
having anything
just
with
termination.
that.
Oh yeah.
See? It doesn't,
It's not
you
affecting
know,
us.
it doesn't
That's
say if
something
you
we
don't
need to-
comply with the state, you're gone.
Yeah, thank you.
And I don't know if the Cambria Improvement District gets a mill
Hold your
maybe.
thing through,
How do you?
gotta know
I
everything.
think they do in their
Sure,
special district.
Kara, can you hear us? I'll go ask.
You want me to do it? Worked out last time?
Yeah, I think
I can't move.
I think they're getting, they're collecting mill levies in their little area and getting paid.
Who is?
Cambridge Improvement District.
You shut the mill on, Bill.
They do not, so neither one of these, it's not affecting them financially.
Yet.
No. But it is the hospital, cause they're having funds withheld.
By two entities, us and the state.
We sent the letter to all of them. I'm not sure why. What happened with that?
You drew up the letters for Nathan to,
Yeah, but why I'm saying if the letters were sent to all of them, and why are not all of them getting treated the same? I don't understand that.
That's exactly
what do you mean, why are they not getting treated the same?
I think that's exactly what we were trying to, I was trying to say, is that when we have three sitting here, why are we not doing the same? Only I'm on the more of the side of,
But that's what I'm meaning, that's why they're not reacting, because they don't get mills. The Joint Powers Board gets all their money right at the beginning.
That's right.
Cambria Improvement Service District doesn't get a mill. They don't receive a mill from them, so they're probably not affected by it.
well, is it appropriate, Mr. Chairman, to write them another letter and give the March 1st date? I don't know about this whole deadline thing.
That's the problem. is
Uncomfortable with
you
me?
gotta, if you treat one different.
You
The
gotta
one
treat
thing
the
that
whole
makes me
thing.
feel better about them is at least they came and sat in seats
Yeah.
today. And,
They're working on trying to rectify it.
I mean, I'm a little more inclined to be more lenient on those folks
Are you done with
than
it?
the other
Yeah.
ones, just for the fact of it seems like there's a level of disinterest.
Well, I guess that's what you do, is we do treat them the same. And take our lumps when they come. And you say March 1st, or the first meeting in March, we're going to dissolve your board. We're going to remove every board member you have, and we're going to seat a new board, and they're going to dissolve your district. Thanks for playing.
Got with Brian, they were aware of that, and they got with their people, and all that's been clarified and submitted, so just FYI, just so.
So you, if we call the Department of Audit, you think they have?
Submit it.
Yes, that's my understanding from Brian, yes. That they should be in compliance now.
So I can message them as soon as we're done, and she'll be able to tell me.
Right, you should be able to.
Well, you guys should be able to go to the website and see, because it'll tell you who is in.
Can you go to the website?
Well, I know with the solid waste district, our paperwork compliant, the F-32 report was sitting there for probably 45 days before they took us off the list, being non-compliant. It took them, I think, a month and a half, once it was submitted, for them to get us off the list.
I can have Susan get on there and look.
Typical government, we're quick to put you on, but.
Yeah, they don't wanna take you off very quick.
Well, if we stick to that March 1st kind of deadline, that gives them
And
60 days roughly to.
Yes, go to Department of Audit and go to Public Funds.
DOA.
And just because they
So
submitted
then you
it,
go
doesn't
to
mean it's been
Public Funds.
reviewed and.
Public Funds, and you go to
But I
reports.
was thinking, mid-March.
And then it'll have
If the
the
auditors
county
are telling
ones,
us
or
8
the
weeks.
district ones. Well, that's not showing reports. What, it's not reports, what is it?
Compliance.
What are the, Yeah.
the non-compliant.
Annual deadlines, forms, online reporting.
Like that. Got out a lot of those stuff.
Is it touchscreen? Sorry.
Yeah.
Already touched it.
Stuff out there.
When she has, someone else out there with her, have her come get these from
There it is.
Oh, I've been after those.
Okay, which one is it?
You got two guys. Come give them. I will pound them again.
Survey of districts, special districts right there.
Got the tall brown one and the little brown one, right? And all it's gonna be put on is Osage records, open at your own risk.
Oh, it's just a form. Tell me where the list is. I'm coming up with forms. I thought I just walked right through this last time I looked. Ed,
Just look.
Let me see.
you're one-armed. Come over here.
Hey, I can hold my phone down here, I don't have to move.
Usually can just walk. Because I'm under the gun here. I'm looking through smudges on my glasses.
Are you here waiting because you think we're not gonna pay your?
We're gonna pay
We're
you.
paying it.
No, I'm not waiting for any, I'm just
Okay.
listening to the
Okay,
hospital thing.
okay. I'm like,
Just
you
decided
poor
to listen
guy.
I've got a mark by it.
No, I wanted to hear the hospital stuff. I tried to get it on tape, so.
So you heard that
So
they,
is this the only
that
one?
they got us wrecked in Cook County,
I'm sorry, Mike. That's where you go to get it somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's under
The
public.
whole thing's frustrating because I don't know how they've done as long as they have, the books the way they have, but yet every year they say they're fixing it, it just never seems to get fixed. The 340B program is still not complete, which would cost a little less money, and I'm just curious why it's taking so long, but that's just my opinion.
Did you find it, Michael?
It's
I'm getting, I think I'm getting some.
Sorry, I wasn't trying to make anybody uncomfortable. I was just listening.
Fiscal year 2020.
Well, we're holding on to a voucher with your name on it.
Oh,
That's why I thought
I
I was
didn't know
getting
you were
her.
I
out.
found,
I was like,
In fact, I probably
We're
brought
paying
the reason
it.
why you should ask.
We're gonna pay it.
We weren't upset with you, we wanted
Oh, you
to
found
talk
it?
to Brian about it.
that said 2025, but then it says 20.
Yes, which one?
Oh yeah, that's right.
This is the one that's.
It's been a long day.
So you want-
Question it too.
So you got Weston County?
Probably not a good thing.
I just know.
Where's
it's
the
in there.
dispatch?
The year that
And
non-compliance
Brian said that's
confused.
not the first one.
That is-
What's
That's.
I don't even see it.
Years of
So
non-compliance confused with each other.
So they
Makes no
haven't,
sense.
no, it's all, not on here yet.
It's not on the site.
Was it that one or this one? No,
That they're
we were
compliant
looking
with
at
the
auditors are
25?
like, oh,
It's not, their forms aren't on the.
yeah, I know.
It's a great question.
And that's why I don't
I
know
think it's
that they're
the level of
compliant
care.
with that one either.
Still seems.
I would ask them.
a burden.
I have.
Weston
Well,
Oh.
I mean, email, what do you find?
They had it at a different, they had it for 26.
Right on their website.
Everybody's confused about it.
What's that?
You have to even live 26, how can they audit it?
You would think.
Or maybe that's a
It's almost like they would be like, hey, take me to Weston County, you don't have to pay for it, and that's not right either.
I know, maybe the next person we take into
I wonder what they're not.
It is, well, I mean, it is.
That's just for a budget. That's just a budget.
You have one.
Is anyone that person
See what I mean?
might be that way?
Specific year.
Yeah.
The hospital here's full. Take them
It's
up
that
there.
F-25 or 23 or 32 or 75,
Yeah, we're
26
taking
or
Yeah,
like
that's
223.
I can't find it on here. So.
Oh no, I was so mad.
I just know there's some crazies out there.
I do. I think-
And you
I think
get
that
to
was-
deal with that.
Uh-huh.
Crazy? I have, yes. I've had a couple.
They're saying that she's got some new wizards doing now. He should.
Well, what I have is just have us a report, so we know by that March 1st and all.
Well,
So let's, let them come in and maybe at the next meeting, plead their case and then we'll
Yep.
have an answer.
Give us
But I would say that,
a
kind
good
of-
reason why we don't start resolving it.
and maybe that's the date we say, because that's what we gave them, I guess.
And I'll message her as soon as we're done here to double check that none of them have come into compliance.
Or they have.
Right, to see who has and who hasn't.
Just make sure that they understand the responsibilities of that district and that board, that this is one of their duties. I mean, it's not really, I would say it's not really our responsibility to play dad over the deal and say, guys, get your act together. It is our duty to state responsibility-wise dissolve that district if it doesn't happen, but they need to understand those responsibilities of the board and the districts.
So this is where I get a little stomachache too. So they go through the training, board training, which part of that is compliance with the Department of Auditor. And so when you sign that and you pass your little test, you already know. So it gives me a stomachache.
That's why the Department of Audit puts on training.
That's why you can go get it for free online. But I know the hospital did it, I don't know these others. And maybe, Mr. Chairman, that's the responsibility of this board to make sure they send their certificate, then they're put on the board, that they have their certificate of, that they went through that training. Because it is state law.
Once they're appointed, you have 90 days to get your training done. And that's why I said back that, under the liability, you're covered if you're not within the scope of your duty. But if you blatantly ignore the scope of your duty, you actually open yourself up.
It might be a good idea to send a nice friendly reminder out to all the boards, because we've got several new people come on. It's like, reminder, these new people have to have that board training. And then we need to have proof of it. Because it would be easy to have somebody go on the board fresh and new and forget that. Especially when everybody else has already had that training.
Very easy. And then you get a majority of the board that hasn't had it done.
This is novel. Has any of our legislators had to take that training?
They don't have to, they're exempt. They're exempt. They're exempt from everything.
Who is?
Legislators.
Oh.
They don't have to have that training.
Congress and healthcare. Exempt.
That's what we think, so.
Oh, we beat that semi to death.
Yes.
There's no blood over here.
Wait, we're not done. Oh, yeah, just.
So we got the Mondale Heights voucher and the Cone voucher. This one, I think we're okay.
Definitely okay with that one.
What about this Cone?
We didn't pay the other one, did we?
Well, the other one's
This is the natural resource district one that you would want to talk to them
We went
about.
to, okay.
On that cone, I wouldn't have a problem paying the 10,000 that we did for our
Okay, that's not a problem for me.
service contract. Then get an explanation on that the 4,000, if that's not covered, or whatever that amount is. If it's not covered, yeah, we'll do it. It's like a little clarification.
Mr. Chairman, so if we're paying for the annual renewal of a service contract, do we have it? Do we have the contract?
That's a good point. Let's have the contract,
Let's have the contract, then we'll pay
service
them.
contract in hand, then we'll pay them.
Then we'll pay them.
That's the one that Brandon said he was wherever.
Brandon said he was good with
Japan.
that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, on the sign, he was
So
good
you-
with the 4,000.
Let's wait on the Cone one. So if we want to do a motion to approve the Mondale Heights.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve Mondale Heights voucher in the amount of $2,402.70 for Title 25 transfers.
Second.
Motion properly seconded to approve the Mondale Heights voucher. Any discussion?
For Dawn.
Go ahead, Jared.
Mr. Chair, I also agree with, not to any fault assumed to Mondale Heights, it's a structured thing.
Yeah.
On the explanation that the sheriff gave us in maybe the medical side, and I understand that the Title 25 was probably determined after the fact, but say for instance, Rapid City, how do they, larger areas that have a lot more volume, maybe life flighted into those hospitals, and then they're determined at that point. I can't imagine that would just be an open door for those hospitals, those counties to be able to cover those. Bennington County, if they set up a Title 25 like that, how many would they actually have to pay for? They get flown in from wherever.
Or Casper.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting a
Casper.
stomachache from that, because didn't we have a Casper one?
Yeah.
Didn't they get it in Casper and then we were required to pay?
Their address was here or
Here?
something?
Wasn't that the deal, that we had to pay that way?
Whenever this gentleman or.
So why doesn't this reverse that way?
Question.
Exactly.
Isn't this person, was he a resident?
What's that?
From Weston County?
What's that?
Was this person from Weston County?
Which one? Are we
Is
talking
that
about?
This
right?
last one.
No, not that I was aware of, but he had a wreck and was brought here because the services in Sundance weren't appropriate, is what I was told.
Well, then I'm having, again,
But then what's confusing is that then they're shipped to Casper anyway.
exactly.
So,
So why didn't it go from there to there, and then that interesting part of what happened to us in Casper is then I can kind of understand why they would go back to us and say, well, his home resident is there.
it's very valid points. I don't know the answer to it. I just know when I get there that,
Right.
I've taken people to Rapid, I've taken people to Casper, but they're all, how do you determine whether it's a Title 25 or not? I get a form that says it's Title 25, so I have to take them, and then I've had families say, can I go with you? And I'm like, no, you can't. They can't go because it's Title 25, but why they go to Casper and why we're charged for it, I have no idea.
Well, what we had has been one before. It was an out of county person that was either from Gillette to Cat. Anyway, we ain't got stuck with their bill.
Yeah, well, this guy I know for a fact was a drive-through. I mean, he wrecked over there. He said he was. I mean, I heard the whole story from him. I finally just had to tell him I don't need to hear you anymore. But
Mr. Chair, information on this, I'm a little confused now that I get to thinking about it. Was the person arrested or was he hauled from the crash scene in ambulance to the hospital?
he was taken by ambulance to the hospital.
Okay, so my question is how does that land on a Title 25? Isn't that from a detained individual?
The doctor then determined here, and he did have some
Maybe
mental
so.
issues. There's no doubt. Whoever at the hospital made that determination. Yeah.
Right,
One
which
of
I
the doctors.
understand that side of it, although that person was not detained by our law enforcement, correct?
Oh, they don't have to be detained by law enforcement for Title
It
25.
doesn't have to be, it
No.
could be just a random whatever.
Somebody could walk in the emergency room and don't feel bad, all of a sudden they're a Title 20,
Yeah,
the doctor
it's
decides
their
it's Title
behavior.
25.
The
off they go.
doctor can
So it
determine
has nothing to
anything.
do with
So I don't think it matters where it's
Okay, so it
from.
wasn't under.
But it still gives me a stomachache, because we, just as Garrett stated, if that was going to be a process, that could easily end up being a process.
Mhm.
And that's scary, because we only budget so much money. And if you come to the conclusion,
Don't take them here, just
Don't take
start
'em there.
taking 'em all to
get an
Weston
ambulance to
County.
take them to this hospital.
What's gonna, Mr. Chair,
What's gonna
my
stop it?
question is, and obviously, I'll bet other counties around the state are just as concerned as we are. What would prevent an individual, a tourist from states away, from getting in a wreck, admitting to the hospital, a medical professional determines a Title 25, we are then liable for this individual from, you see what I'm saying?
It's in this county.
That's what he's saying.
Regardless of residential location or anything.
It doesn't even make sense.
Mr. Chairman,
Mhm.
at that, like this one though, yes, we paid for his transfer, but we haven't gotten a bill from the hospital yet. So the hospital bill, when it comes, if his name is on there with his address and it's not from here, it's Crook County, we could send that bill over to Crook County then, correct?
People want some crazy stuff, and we always used to dream about it, and now that it's here, people are scared of it. Self-driving cars, electric vehicle, we've been seeing that stuff on TV for how long, hoverboards, all, and we get upset that we don't have the hoverboards and stuff, but the technology we do have that was in those same shows, we shun it, and we are scared of it, and we don't want to embrace it. And I think every one of us would that was sitting around in the 80s and 90s watching those TV shows would be very mad at ourselves as adults now if we weren't taking advantage of all the cool stuff little kids us wanted to play with. So
yeah, you could say we live in a scary time, but I think we live in an exciting. I cannot believe that in my lifetime this is happening. I mean, it is absolutely crazy. And you're right. I spent years saying, man, I wish I had a personal assistant.
His address, and it's not from here, it's Crook County. We could send that bill over to Crook County then, correct?
But we shouldn't get a
We
bill
get
from
the
the
bill.
hospital.
We shouldn't get the bill at all.
No.
So we might not have the responsibility of the hospital stay if he's not from here, but we ended up having this time the transfer.
Yeah.
The only question is why wasn't he just taken to the Sundance Hospital?
I will say, you could totally understand why the doctor made the decision. I mean, he was a few fries short of a happy meal for sure. I mean, he was aggressive and he was destructive and he was, I mean, it could have been from the accident, I don't know, but he had mental issues for sure.
So then it comes back to the decision by the ambulance to take him to whichever hospital.
And I agree with that. Why from Sundance is it any further to Campbell County than it would be to here? I don't know the answer to that, but I'm just saying that decision was made because Sundance didn't have the capability to care for them according to them.
Which I find highly amazing.
Yeah, well, I do too if it was a wreck.
Qualified as we are.
If it was a wreck, they have wrecks all the time. I mean, they have I-90, right? Or whatever, whatever that is.
I don't know what the process was to get him here, but once he was here, I could absolutely see why he was a Title 25. So once he was here, you could. I mean, he was out of control. So I mean, the doctor was probably like, "This guy is not safe."
Just stuck with that one.
Do you know we're going to have to asterisk mark that for the EMS district. We're going to have to. I mean, that's one of those things we won't ever think about.
Yeah, I don't know what determined got him here, but I definitely see why. I mean, we had to restrain him. So, I mean, he was definitely a mess.
So there's a motion on the table.
Sorry.
It's okay. I think we can continue this. So,
Call for the question.
all those in favor of paying the voucher to Mondale Heights in $2,402.70, please say aye.
Okay.
Opposed? What I would like to know, I guess, too, is one thing here is a private vehicle transportation transfer form that Don has to sign. And it appears in our end is signs off as the signature of patient or legal guardian, and then a witness. Like it is a doctor in the facility that's making this determination. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, they do have other forms at the hospital that put the doctor's signature. My process when I get there is I have to get that form
Fill
signed.
this out.
Then I have to call the sheriff and let him know what time I'm leaving. Then I have to call the sheriff when I arrive, and I have to call the nurse's desk, and then I have to let him know when I'm headed back so that all that process is in place. But there is other paperwork, I just don't get to see it.
Okay.
Not to put Michael on the spot, but I think there's 3 doctor, law enforcement, and I think one other entity or one other individual that can place a person on Title 25.
If anybody would like to know his name later, I can tell you because
We think I'll go on vacation together.
I need to Google him and figure out where he lives.
Yeah, we're gonna get stuck with the Title 25 medical or the treatment. Oh, we're getting stuck with the transfer.
At this time.
For now.
At this time.
Yeah, so far.
Internal
want to know who the individual was? So when we get a bill from Casper, we're not gonna pay it for the treatment.
Well, and truthfully, the jail, we ran into that, you know, obviously with their medical budget, that, no, this is on them, but they're like, no, we're sending it to you. I just had that argument with the hospital not too long ago, a month ago, about a bill. It's like, no, this is on this individual. Well, no, we're sending it to you. Well, then we're just not gonna use you, sorry. So I think, I always feel that, I think in some cases, it's an easy target. It's county, they got deep pockets, we'll send them the bill. Well, no, it's this individual, Title 25. It should be on that individual to incur those costs.
Mm-hmm.
So Jason, when you get one of those, you bring it.
Yep.
And Mr. Chairman, then we'll have a conversation.
Well, but see, like with that bill from the hospital, that's a little, because state statute says we are stuck for the first 72 hours of the Title 25. You know, that is spelled out in state statute.
But the interesting thing is if the hospital sends, I mean, we just need to have that conversation. And that might be one of those conversations they just assume that's the way, they don't want to go through the billing. It's, like you said, they're like water, they're going to take the easiest route. We'll have that conversation.
Train.
We don't have trains here,
I know.
but thanks for asking.
This person probably wrecked Sunday night, and the Title 25, it appears, I don't know when it probably was decided what time frame that happened, but 12/1 was the pickup date, which is Monday morning at 8 in the morning. So we're on Monday, Tuesday, you know, that's another thing I want to, you know, if they pick them up, at what time does that 72 hours start? Is it the moment the doctor signs a piece of paper? Or it is. So if he signs it Sunday at noon and nobody can haul him down until Monday morning.
No, weekends and holidays don't count.
Don't
So
count.
it would start at Sunday or Monday at 12:01, or Monday at 12.
Okay. So
That didn't work either.
Can't say we're not a clever bank.
So anything after Wednesday night at midnight is on somebody else. Okay. The state or whatever. Okay. All right. Anything else on that?
No, that was really fun though.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
I did.
My Advil's worn off. I want to go home.
So one of these cough drops are really great.
The cone.
Yeah.
You love them.
To send you correspondence to them and say, we need the contract before we pay that.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get information. from
Okay.
them.
Excuse me. Got nothing under old or new business. Or any public comment? Yes, sir.
He's been waiting all day.
Just, there's nothing to report for the jail for the following month, so that's it. I just showed up to do my report,
You're like my hero.
so
You like those
Well, that
reports?
was all you wanted.
that's it. Well, I don't want to be put on the agenda just to say there's nothing, so I'll just
Oh,
wait for
you're
public
so
comment to say
nice.
there's nothing.
All full.
And if there is something, I'll put myself on, and I think the board is okay with that.
All full, all right.
Well, thank you.
We're a little
Really
full.
full.
It was, yeah,
It's a good New Year's, huh?
yeah. The after party.
Well, I bet they're enjoying that party now, aren't they?
Well, yeah.
Those little boxes of cereal have to be.
How's your fingerprint machine holding up?
So far, so good.
Okay.
I mean, we still have, still the issue of not being able to get people added into it to do their, for login and stuff, but we're still looking.
What was the date when they thought they might be able to get you a new one?
They didn't have one. She just said once they lift that hold, they'll start applying again for that grant, so.
Is that a federal grant?
I would imagine that's what they're doing.
DCIs are kind of weird.
Yeah.
Any other public comment?
Bye, Splenda.
Linda?
Oh, I have got to show you what he
You
said.
want me to tell her?
Yes.
Yes.
The wife said, I'm not her sugar daddy. We're not that rich. I'm her Splenda daddy.
Splenda's more expensive, so
I
take that as
love
a
it.
compliment. I mean,
You'll have to
sugar's
tell her
a dime
that.
a dozen.
You'll have to
Splenda,
tell her
that's
that.
expensive crap.
I just,
I mean, there you go.
It was
There you go.
just so funny. I
Joke's
couldn't
on her.
stop laughing.
Larry, do you have anything for Commissioner comment?
That's right. I have nothing. What? I don't have anything right now. I didn't write anything down.
Mr. Wagner has some.
Yeah, I do. Everybody's got a copy of this email that I forwarded from Jeremiah in your pile. Kind of exploring county partnership with Japanese counterparts. The governor's working on the deal. Jeremiah reached out if the county, if anybody wants to be involved with or included with it, and I didn't. You know how we are a participating agent, gets our foot in the door. If we want to just put something out there, Jeremiah say, hey, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we have anything to add to it or not, but like, hey, keep the door open. If something comes up that pertains to us, we'd be interested.
Mr. Chairman, there is a Newcastle jet in Japan.
I know that. But this is on every side. Region.
Oh my gosh. Don't make me start coughing.
Does this say equal sister county relationship? So what I'm saying is there's a Newcastle in Japan.
Okay,
Oh.
there we go.
So there we go. It doesn't sound like Newcastle because it's Japanese. Because, I mean, soup
Is there,
doesn't sound like
I don't really
soup.
care about Newcastle.
You
Is there a
do.
Weston County in
You-
Japan? That's what
Don't ever say that
This is
again.
a county office.
You are on camera.
This is a county.
But I don't
Louder.
know, reach out to Jeremiah, say, yeah, I mean, if something is up that would involve us, yeah, we'd be involved
We'll
with
see
it.
if there's an Upton. Could be Upton. In fact, Upton
I'm
sounds.
not going
There's
down
an
You know,
that.
Upton.
Upton sounds Japanese. It does. Especially you say Upton Saki.
Alright, that was on that one. They are having a joint appropriations meeting in Cheyenne. I'm gonna open up here. January 12th at 8:30 a.m. It's going to be about what they're going on is the direct distribution and some of the funding, how it's paid out. Proposed legislation, Weston County stands to lose roughly $200,000.
Oh my god.
I'll go down the list. Albany, 712,000. Bighorn, 271,000. Carbon, 186,000. Converse, 33,000. Crook, 120,000. Fremont, 575. Goshen, 275. Laramie, 977,000. Niobrara, 74. Platte, 184,000. Sheridan, 455,000. Sweetwater, 315,000. Teton, 55,000. Washakie, 242,000. Weston, 195,000.
Teton loses less than us.
Teton was
Well,
only
that's how much we're
55,
gonna take away from us.
I know, why did Teton?
only 55.
'Cause they don't get very much.
They don't get very
Oh.
much.
Because see, to the Madden formula, they get a little, very little slice of the pie.
Oh,
They're
okay.
97% federally owned.
Right.
See, so that's something we're gonna keep on our radar
That is a lot.
with what
for
they're,
us.
what the appropriation committee, what kind of bill they're gonna start trying to push out on this.
So the interesting part of that is that the conversation was that they would tweak that because of the 25%. So now they're going another way, and that's
Yeah,
Holy-
they're-
Yeah, so we're losing our 25%.
Who came up with that idea?
yeah, appropriations,
Give me one.
somebody, I don't know who's pushing it. That hasn't come out yet, but that'll be coming out next week.
Great.
We'll find out who's behind it. the hardest. And right now, we haven't seen a draft bill or nothing on it yet, but this is something they're considering. So,
what day was it?
12th at 8:30.
January 12th?
Yep, January 12th at 8:30.
Dwindling down more.
What?
Mr. Chairman, I won't be here for the next meeting.
Oh.
Marty won't be here for the next meeting, she said.
You won't, oh, you got your
I go to market.
market, yeah.
Remember that That's right on that.
I'll bring you all a suppressor.
Really?
If they give out samples, I'll be the first one to give them.
Half 28 thread.
Okay. Because that's going to be the big thing to know. Because the taxes.
Yep.
So you know that's what the big thing's going to be.
That's all I had. Just keep your eyes open for that. If you get a email from Jeremiah sometime, to respond back to the legislators, blast them.
Yes, hard.
So.
Just my.
I don't know.
Sure, they're yours. I don't know. I don't mind
Right.
yours.
I'm gonna wait till I can actually.
Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
Yeehaw.